All right, with that said, we are now live on YouTube, so it is a pleasure to be here this evening. We are having our second Voices from the Field. This is season 1, session 2, so it's very exciting with respect to what it is that we're going to be covering this evening. We have a special guest, Kevin Foley, who is from Position Sports. That Shelley Lyle is going to be interviewing in some capacity throughout his presentation. He's doing a presentation style format this evening. So we also have Gabby that is going to be monitoring the chat function. Yeah, thank you, Gabby. Hi. So you can ask your questions in the chat feature, and then Gabby at the end of the call will present those questions to Kevin, for answering. So with that said, Shelley, I'm excited to see where we go with this.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Shelley Lyle. I am the career coach for the University of Florida Sport Management Program. And we are here with Kevin today. I'm going to give you a little brief background before he kind of takes the lead. I do have a whole list. If you check him out on LinkedIn, you can get all the details on his resume. But in brief, his education is from University of Maryland. He has a bachelor's degree in journalism. He has been a media intern for the Boston Red Sox. He's been a researcher for ESPN Sports Almanac, an athletic media relations student assistant at University of Maryland. And the majority of his time has been spent in 5 years in the executive director of operations for Sports for America. And he is the CEO and founder of Position Sports, a brand positioning sports marketing firm. So we are very excited, especially in this time of COVID, to hear more details on your job and how you guys are managing the culture and environment we are all in currently, and then also kind of how you got started. And I have seen your PowerPoint. It looks amazing. So again, a reminder, if you'd like to follow us on the YouTube channel, please subscribe. We'll be doing this on a weekly to bi-weekly basis. So go ahead and check out that. And then, Kevin, we want to lead you. You can lead the way. And if you have any questions, please, again, feel free to add them to the chat and we will follow up afterwards. So Kevin, take it away.
Great. Thank you very much for having me. I have so much respect for your program and I appreciate the time to, just share a little bit about the company. We were kind of just joking beforehand. Everybody has high aspirations about all these different jobs in sports, but nobody ever wants to go say their dream is to work for an agency, and I probably didn't have that dream either, but it allowed me to work with a lot of the different brands that I've been fortunate to work with and be a part of just every single day that has a different roadmap to it, which has been really exciting from that perspective for me. So I'll probably just jump right into the presentation and probably try not to talk now over things I probably have in the presentation, probably makes the most sense. And then, we'll certainly open it up to any questions that people have and more than happy just to kind of turn this into a discussion as well. So I'll just get started here. All right, everyone see my screen okay? Good to go? All right, so I am the founder of Position Sports. As you can see, we do a variety of different events. This is kind of a fun mosaic that we usually kind of start out with as we talk about our different events. We do a lot of different basketball related pieces, but we've just grown in that area for the most part. So I'm excited to kind of share some of the different events and clients that we work with and some of our kind of key learnings. And it's been a very exciting time, no doubt about it, as you can imagine in sports. And I mean that jokingly. It's been difficult from the event standpoint, but it's been great on how different sports agencies have been able to adapt and kind of working with our clients. So our company, we started in 2005 and we work with a number of the top brands in sports. Very lucky, like I said. I mean, when I was a kid, most kids dreamed of making the NBA or Major League Baseball. My dream was to work with Nike. So Nike was actually my first client. And I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of great people there in basketball and many other sports. And from there, it's really grown to a number of other groups that we work with, from USA Basketball to the Basketball Hall of Fame, individuals like Chris Paul, working with him on some of his community initiatives. And then even more recently, groups like Red Bull, working on a lot of their non-action sports, Upper Deck, working with them on a lot of their hockey properties. And then even most recently, a partnership with Major League Baseball, where we're really working with them on some of their partnerships with Little League and also T-Mobile as well. So these are just a couple of our clients. It's been great, kind of the growth and opportunities that we've have. And it's humbling all the time to work with so many great people and have so many exciting opportunities. And as a result, we kind of started a community partnership division, which I wanted to highlight as well. So in addition to, a lot of the big brands, we also work with a lot of great organizations around the country to help them grow too. Some of them we donate our time to, and really find an opportunity to give back and really help them grow in their communities, or with them trying to reach, what their goals and objectives are. So anything from, the Delaware Sports Commission to the Wings for Life Golf Classic, which is a charitable arm of the Red Bull brand, Ability 360, which is really a passion piece to me, which are adaptive athletes here in Phoenix. They have a beautiful facility and a number of events, and we always try to grow all of our events in many different ways of wheelchair basketball, and just try to bring sports across to so many people that might not typically have sports in their lives. The Jim and Cheryl Caldwell Foundation, Jim Caldwell, the former NFL coach, and then the Phoenix Community Alliance, which is a great group of organizations here in Phoenix that are really growing everything. So what do we do? I like to say we do a little bit of everything, right? From A to Z. I mean, when we have events, many times we do everything from, the television contracts to making sure that the laundry gets done at the end of the night. And that's really what I mean. It's every single detail. And I would say that's one of the strengths of our company is we really dive into the details and see the importance of that. So, we're a premium brand marketing firm. We focus on sports integration strategy. So a lot of times the best way to explain that is we take sometimes non-sports brands that are interested in using sports as that vehicle or that platform for their growth. And it could be through, events. It could be through different activations they might have at All-Star weekends or Super Bowls. It might be, media relations or PR work, or it might be digital engagement. So we're always trying to create these different events. And a lot of times we'll get hired and say, come up with the idea and then execute it. And, that's what makes it fun. Sometimes it makes it challenging, right? Because you have, the idea people who have all the ideas in the world, which I love. And then you have the the execution team who's sitting there going, whoa, easy, not too crazy. We want to make sure we can do this with the right amount of time. So we try to make it fun. And, as I kind of mentioned in my bullets here, I'm really big on storytelling, and I really big on kind of content creation. So anytime we have an event, that's the other piece, is we always try to make it an extension of that event. So aside from the people who are attending there or participating in the event, how can we tell that story to the masses who might not be a part of that? So it's been a really good opportunity, and it's been great to kind of be a part of this growth through the years. So what makes position sports unique? Honestly, the best way I can do it is kind of give examples of our events. So, here's the Jordan Brand Classic, and I use it as the example of how many people and companies can say that they've gone out and produced this nationally televised basketball event with the Jordan Brand Classic on ESPN, and then flip an entire arena in 20 minutes to have a Drake concert, that then is attended by the athletes who just competed in the event, and this is kind of that engaging moment. It's one of those kind of iconic photos that says a lot about the company, and I'm most proud of is, everybody's up on stage taking photos, and this is the ultimate kind of brand connection that you can have with an athlete, Drake, who had just earlier had announced kind of his partnership with the Jordan brand. So kind of a fun platform of growth. Michigan Midnight Madness, the first time in 20 years that a school put on Midnight Madness, and we were there and got the phone call and said, hey, can you guys come up with some ideas on putting together this concept to help launch the new relationship between the school and the Jordan brand with the basketball team. And, over a couple of weeks, it was some great ideas and putting together, DJ Khaled here, who was our host, and Jalen Rose, even the unscripted moments, which I showcased in this photo of him just grabbing the basketball. And yes, he did drain that shot, which was amazing when you don't script something that, gets everybody electrified in the building. And that's what makes this stuff fun, is you never know where things are going to go and how you're going to kind of plan that out a little bit. And then even a piece like, Red Bull 3-on-3, which is, 3-on-3 when we first started this concept, Red Bull challenged us to come up with an event concept that we could integrate with Anthony Davis and his hometown of Chicago. So we built this great platform of a 3-on-3 basketball event in a time of a lot of violence going on in the summer in Chicago that really needed a big, uplifting experience for the community. And we went out and we built this beautiful outdoor wooden court with jumbotrons and made this into a really fun weekend for a lot of people in Chicago that Anthony really appreciated. And not only from this one idea, it went from an event called Red Bull Rain, which is now Red Bull 3X, which is actually an official qualifier for the Olympics through a partnership with USA Basketball. So people can actually come and play in these events and eventually qualify for a chance to win an Olympic gold medal. How amazing is that a concept like that comes from a boardroom right out onto the court, right? So those are the moments that, set us different, is kind of the ideation and the growth opportunities that we like to give to some of our brands. So a couple more highlights. I know, people are always asking of, what are some of the things that, mean the most to me or I've enjoyed kind of through the years. I've been working in sports industry for over 20 years now, which is amazing already to even think that way. My wife reminds me the players in the Jordan Brand Classic, the top high school players, weren't even alive when I started running that event. So I appreciate, moments like that. But, it also means that hopefully we're doing something right. So, highlights, what's the most rewarding? I would say, working with T-Mobile in Little League on the home run derby piece of, giving not only baseball players, boys and softball players an opportunity to kind of step on that national level. But if you've never been to the Little League World Series, put it on your bucket list, because I went there for the first time last year. And it was almost emotional for me because there's no sporting event like that out there. And I've been to Super Bowls and All-Star games, but to really see how an event runs where everything's so positive and the kids are so excited and energized, I could work on anything that they bring to us at any time of the day. It's just such an amazing platform, and we're excited to work with all these different groups. And T-Mobile's been doing a great job, during this time period as well of continuing to support it. Most enjoyable, our Chris Paul events that we do. Here's a guy that I actually knew was a participant in my event when I ran the McDonald's All-American game and the Jordan Brand Classic. And through the years, I've got to see him grow into one of the best leaders in sports. So it's been an amazing thing for me to see him. And he has this great event he does every year where he brings the top high school and college players to his hometown of Winston-Salem, and he mentors them on and off the court about what they should expect in their careers. And guys like Steph Curry and Harrison Barnes were all campers at this camp where he mentored these future stars. So, his mom cooks lunch. We go bowling, and he's a dynamic bowler. If you've never heard that about him, I made that mistake one time of being in the same lane. But that's the kind of thing about these professional athletes. You'd like to see that come to life. And it's great to see his leadership in a role like that, and also how he can impact the next generation. And then, what's the most challenging? Every event we do is different, and we were challenged. This is, also one of the ones I'm most proud of, but we were challenged at one point during All-Star Weekend up in Toronto to build out this beautiful basketball court on the ice, the former Maple Leaf Gardens, and produced the Jordan Brand Invitational and brought in some of the top high school teams from around the world to play in this game. But the challenge wasn't necessarily that event. It was the fact of All-Star Weekend, we had 3 major events with 3 different clients. So the challenging part is anyone who works events is, you're the first one in the building, you're the last one out, and then you have another event. You might be out the door at 2 a.m. and you're at that next event at 6 a.m. running a big event for Nike basketball that could be in another part of town, and then running a major basketball press conference for the Basketball Hall of Fame that's live on television, later that afternoon. So the challenging part is just balancing not only your sanity, but your organizational efforts and just kind of how everything comes together. Any questions on the company? I mean, that might be a good place to pause a little bit just before kind of jumping into career path stuff, or I can just keep on going.
Well, yeah, sure. I would like to ask, for those of you who are the students who are interested, we're going to hear about your career path, but curious, what it looks like to start. You've got all these great names and people that you work with, but from the beginning, like your step one to where you are now, how would you, when you're looking to apply for jobs or you're looking to hire people, what are some things that you're looking for? And, I think your job is in the dream world in a lot of ways and super cool. So I'm just curious, like at the level one of your organization, what you're looking to hire.
Sure. Well, I'll be honest, like my step one, and this is probably what I would say is my step one is when I started this company is I started in my living room. So it was just me, so we have a kind of a running joke at our company that you can't teach initiative. And our first test with a lot of people is who has initiative at events. So if we're at a basketball event, who's out there, filling the Gatorade coolers, who's doing above and beyond to take the events to the next level. And I would say that's where I kind of got my start, but that's what I look for in people is those who have initiative and get there. And you can really see it right off the bat of, someone might get into sports because they love sports. And I understand that, but it's also about what you're really good at, and how you can kind of handle what's thrown at you. And especially in the event world or in the ideation world, you need to be prepared for stuff. So, I learned that from day one that you need to know everything about the events that you run. And, I just honestly, and I'll, probably touch on it later, but I really, ask people to really self-educate a lot, so when you're applying for a job with us, we want to know that you know the industry. We want to know that you're out there getting after it. And I'll have a couple tips later on what I look for in resumes of people who are trying to apply for a job with us or even for our clients, if I can ever help with that as well.
Awesome. And maybe last question before you go to the next slides, but what's your day-to-day look like? And then maybe you can talk about some of the people you work with and what their roles and their day-to-day looks like. Because it sounds like you've got lots going on and every event's probably different, but I'm very curious.
Yeah, my day-to-day, I think what makes this fun is every day is different. And most of the time I don't know what my day is going to bring until I look at my phone right when I wake up. So that's part of it. We're our calendar's ever changing, especially now. And that's one of the challenges. We all sat there in March and we said, okay, we're going to delay this 2 weeks. We're going to delay this 3 weeks, and how you adapt to that. So a lot of it is reactive to what clients are looking to do or change. But a lot of it is, I have my hit list of things I really want to do and really want to work on and really want to push with clients and ideas. So my day-to-day is a lot of PowerPoint presentations, a lot of networking with people, and that's it. I try to do as much as I can to jump on as many different calls and Zooms. You guys all know, right? I could probably Zoom for 15 hours a day with different people for meetings all the time. It's such an easy thing to do now. But it's really about building it up as much as I can and growing the company, but supporting our clients and making sure they all understand that we want to bring that first new idea to them. We want to challenge them. I want them to be saying no to us with our ideas more than anything else. So the more we can bring to them and the more we can build, that's really what my day-to-day is how I can, go from each of these different events and clients and really work to elevate them as much as I can.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you're a networker and creative minds are encouraged in your world to be kind of ahead of the game, I would imagine, too, on ideas and just different events, especially marketing and looking to the future. So yeah, with that being said, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your career path and
Sure.
then we'll take some questions.
Great. So my career path, a little unique, I guess, from day one. This is kind of the mantra, and I know I'm a Boston guy through and through. So putting anything New York Yankees in any presentation I do takes a lot of, respect I have for someone like Derek Jeter. But I'm a big quote person. So you'll see this a couple times. I just want to share this, but there may be people that have more talent than you, but there's no excuse for anyone to work harder than you. And that's really, he probably said this after I started my career. So don't get me wrong. It wasn't my mantra as I went through everything, but I tried to live by that, with everything that I did and take the opportunities. What I always say is I can actually pinpoint, 4 opportunities in my life that changed everything for me from a career standpoint. And, those are the moments that, I feel are impactful. So I always kind of start with those to kind of, share where I'm going, and it hopefully helps people understand, how to work through their career as well. So my first opportunity I had was with the Boston Red Sox, and it was through a family friend. I didn't apply for anything, and I'm not like, most people are like, oh, do you want to tell people you just got that through a relationship? I had a family friend who basically asked if I wanted to go in and make photocopies, get coffee for people and everything else with the Red Sox. And I said, absolutely, sign me up. I'll do it for a whole season. So I went in, and it was, a great opportunity. I had someone open the door for me. I went in and I was that guy. I was putting together reports for a lot of the executives on players. I actually focused on a guy named Nomar Garcia Parra, who was in the minor leagues. who ended up being someone that the Red Sox traded that ended up helping them win their first World Series. So that's my little piece of helping out the Red Sox back in the day. But I grinded through that experience. It was 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock every morning, riding the T into downtown Boston, a full day of work, a game at night. And I was that guy wearing a suit on the T home, where everyone was, drunk and making fun of me for wearing a suit at 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd do it the next day, my job with the Red Sox was I actually called the home run distances during games. So that was my official job at night. I was the official caller of home run distances before they have all the great programming they have now. But from that, it motivated me that I wanted to go into a career in sports. I went to the University of Maryland. I worked in the athletic media relations office. I worked with wrestling and non-scholarship sports like tennis and baseball that didn't have a whole lot, and lacrosse, which was growing, and finally worked up to basketball. And my senior year, I always volunteered on everything I got. And I went downtown and worked an event at where the Washington Wizards at the time was the MCI Center. And I volunteered at the event. And because I got out of bed and went down there and volunteered and worked hard and spent 2 days, one of the people there at the arena asked me if I would be interested in coming back for an informational interview. And they opened their Rolodex to me. And because of that, I found a job right out, literally 2 weeks out of college. That they got introduced, and I went to work for a sports marketing company, and I started running the McDonald's All-American game. So here I am, 22, 23 years old, and people moved around in my company that I started with called Sports America. And I was probably 23 years old, and I was running as the game director of the McDonald's All-American game at Duke University my first year. And I'll be honest, and I can admit this now, and maybe someone will see it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I'll be honest. And a lot of it is you get the opportunity, and you just got to take it by the reins and go with it, and that's what I did. I worked very hard to get to know everybody and worked with folks like ESPN and Coke and Reebok, and got to just network as much as I could and just get really better every single year. The following year we were, New York, Madison Square Garden, starting the first girls game ever. After that was LeBron James in Cleveland. You want to talk about just an amazing place for me to kind of grow my career and get to know everybody. And then after that, I had an opportunity where Nike approached me after running that event for 5 or 6 years about whether I'd be interested in consulting with them for Nike basketball. And it was a dream come true. I got to know a lot of those folks through my relationships with the McDonald's game, and no brainer for me. And basically I was able to consult for them, and I could start my own company and work with other brands that were competitors. And literally it was overnight. It was like almost like a Jerry Maguire moment, building out my company name and brand and logo. And I sat there all night and just put together a business plan of what I wanted to do with, Position Sports. And I started in 2005. I don't think to this day I've used one thing from that business plan, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. And at least it motivated me to get out there. And, when you're the only one working at a company at that time, you're highly motivated. You take a vacation day and nothing's happening at the company. So you have to take that in mind. I spent a lot of time on airplanes and meeting people and going to events and volunteering, even when I was working full time, to try to meet people and get going. So I don't know if there's any kind of questions anyone has on that piece, but I'm more than happy to kind of keep rolling with it as well.
Yeah, I'm really curious where your passion for sport came from, and how important do you think that is in this industry?
It's really important. I mean, look, everybody, when you ask them why they get into it, is because they say they love sports, right? My 78-year-old mother loves sports, but she doesn't work in sports, right? She has to be good at what she does, So forever when I was growing up, my family made fun of me because I was always, March Madness, I was creating brackets. I was always doing just crazy things and baseball cards. And I loved everything about sports. I could tell you every athlete in Major League Baseball and batting averages and things like that. That was important to me. And that's what I love. So I was really passionate about it. So as much as they made fun of me, and I told my mom this a couple months ago, they made fun of me for working and cutting wood. My parents were from Maine, so we spent a lot of time in the summers in Maine cutting wood so I could make money to buy baseball cards because I loved it. Well, fast forward, and now I'm working with Upper Deck, right, as a client. So I told Upper Deck this. It's funny because that was so important to me, was to get that pack of Upper Deck cards, that I appreciate the value and the time that goes into that now, and I understand how it means to connect with people. So I appreciated that. And I told my mom all those years of all my siblings making fun of me, hopefully that paid off in that regards. But it also means that I've learned, from the inside out on how stuff like that works and how you really want to market to people and how you want to engage with people.
Yeah, that's great. I always, I encourage the students when we're talking about careers to take into to fact that like these are crazy hours. I loved your honesty in that because I think that's so true, especially at the beginning. And there's a lot of fame and there's a lot of glitz and glam when we look at sports and we watch sports, but you're firsthand know all the work that goes behind it and the crazy hours and the 1 a.m. in a suit on a subway. That's very real. And so I think it's great that you share that piece, especially because I think it's a good reminder that everyone starts somewhere. And a lot of the times that isn't kind of the grunt work, the coffees, the, late nights. So thanks for that. And go ahead and tell us about COVID-19 pandemic and how you guys are managing that.
No, I appreciate that. And that is the most important thing. You might like sports just to, go work off what you just said, but I've never watched a Jordan Brand Classic live. I've never watched our college basketball events live. You're behind the scenes. You watch it on TV. You record it for yourself. So if you're in it for that reason, you learn really quickly that you shouldn't be. So you might like music or entertainment, but at the end of the day, it's really about like what you're good at, and the passion just brings that out more, which is great. So yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic, that it's been crazy from the event industry, and we've had great clients. So first and foremost, everybody has been great to us from an agency standpoint, and we really appreciate working with a lot of our different partners across the board. So, just to give you kind of an idea, obviously, another quote, you don't think Mike Tyson as a guy you'd necessarily quote, but, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? And, not that we will ever say that we anticipated anything like this ever happen, but a lot of times we think about things of like, how can we adapt quickly? How can we work with clients? And that constant ideation and thinking about that hopefully helps a little bit, contributes to that a little bit. So just a couple quick things that I'll kind of just briefly touch on a little bit. We work with Jordan Brand out at the Jumpman LA store, and they're going virtual, so they're doing a lot of different virtual workouts and hosting kind of this multi-week virtual training program for younger kids to keep them active and everything else. So we're working on kind of managing that process. And our job with that client and with that brand is, really elevating their brand space on a weekly basis of always having events and bringing, youth teams or community groups or athletes into that brand space. So when you don't have that brand space, you need to adapt and you need to find other ways to still engage, with those folks. So that's been a really neat way of doing it. The Little League Home Run Derby, as I mentioned before, we've gone virtual. So we are actually working now on, all these leagues. We're working towards identifying the top 8 baseball and softball sluggers who will then actually compete in the home run derby from their local fields. So we're bringing it to the communities rather, last year we brought them to T-Mobile Park in Seattle and into the Atlanta Braves ballpark as well. Well, now we're working in their hometowns to kind of, finish off this championship to keep everybody safe. But for the kids, as I mentioned before, we're all passionate. We don't want them to not have these opportunities. So we want to do whatever we can to help elevate it and then create kind of this final championship celebration that we're going to work with them to celebrate them with hopefully some special guests and make it kind of a really neat platform as well to kind of round out their Little League season. And then the Basketball Hall of Fame, these bubble events. So we're creating Bubbleville with the Basketball Hall of Fame, November 25th to December 5th. So our team will be in the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut and producing. But the unique thing about it is it's not just one event. We run a whole bunch of different college basketball events. We're bringing them to one place, and then we're working with other smaller events as well too. So it's going to be something like 44 games over 10 days. So if you love basketball, that's the place to be. But we also don't really have fans, and we're working with teams and all the health guidelines and working with the Mohegan Sun, which is a beautiful venue where the Connecticut Sun play, and working with them to make sure everybody's healthy and, traveling in and quarantining. And quite frankly, a lot of my staff spending time over Thanksgiving, in the basketball world. And that's somewhat happens with events. You spend time, it's sports and entertainment. When do people watch that? Nights, weekends, holidays. So, that's the other thing to be prepared for a little bit. So a really neat platform that we're excited about. And then I might kind of just roll in a little bit too. A big part too that, I'm really proud of is, with our company. We're a very diverse group of people, and certainly, it's been an impactful time for us. And I'm never more proud than working with a group like Nike and how they're always on the forefront. It seems when anything happens, they're the first ones to be ready to make a statement. And more so than anything, that's something I'm really proud of. And it's great to kind of hear everything that they're doing all the time. So, one of the things we tried to do right off the bat is we're not like those brands. We don't have a voice. We don't have millions of followers on social media and stuff like that. So we try to find other ways to really elevate. And one of the things we had actually been talking about just before everything, kind of right around before COVID had started itself during that time period of the early spring, is really developing more of a mentorship program. So we created an initiative at our company called the Dream Initiative, and it's diversity, recognition, equality, activism, and mentorship. And it's very heavy on the mentorship because we felt like that's what we could really bring to the table from that standpoint. So we developed this semester, actually in the summer, a virtual internship for HBCU students. And what we started to realize in our initial discussions and as we started talking about this was there's so many challenges. You guys have a great program. A lot of the HBCUs don't have a robust internship program or opportunities or a lot of industry speakers. And we thought, hey, if we can do something, let's do this virtual internship program and let's see if we can help out some really great students with their career. And it's been amazing. We've had 22 students this semester in our pilot program from 7 different HBCUs. We've had some great weekly industry speakers from across basketball and the NFL and all these different areas talking about their roles in lives and kind of their career paths. And then every member of my company has a mentee as part of this. So they focus, if they're in social media or something like that, that we split them up based on what the students are interested in going in. So we help them with their career path. And then ultimately, we want to try to help them find jobs or make connections into the real world. So, to us, it's the little things that we can do. On the other front, we're trying to do as much as we can. From a team standpoint, I'm a big communication person. I'm big on talking all the time. And I think a lot of companies don't do enough of that. So we actually host a lot of kind of regular internal conversations ourselves about different topics. And we encourage stuff for people to talk about any issues on their mind. Specifically registering to vote. We felt like that was a great platform that we saw a lot of athletes supporting. So we've been doing that ourselves and getting out there and supporting different initiatives and really pushing everybody on our team individually and personally to get out there and make an impact in their communities, which has been really great. And then we're working to elevate a lot of our platforms. So great content for our clients, whenever we can. And it's something we've been pushing a lot. So Nike Girls EYBL, the time is now, get registered. Everyone has a voice, no one has an excuse. Creating content that then our clients can share. These are little things that we can do. We're always trying to get into bigger platforms, and we're supporting all of these other big initiatives that our clients are doing. But everything helps, and from the standpoint of really building out a company that's very diverse and inclusive, and most importantly, just always communicating and really being supportive of any ideas that come out and things that we can do to really, lend our assistance. Anything on either one of those topics that anyone might have a question on? Or Shelley?
I don't really have any questions. I think it's amazing what you guys are doing and how you're adapting, as well as at the same time you're adapting to the market. You're also reaching out and helping out. And I think that's really cool to combine both. You're busy, but you're also willing to help, and that speaks volumes. So if anyone doesn't have any questions, you can go ahead and share us a little career advice. I'm sure the students are very excited about this part.
Yeah, and I'll just finish up with this part. Look, it's hard. I mean, I in addition to the work that I do, I'm also an adjunct professor here at a local university, and through my career, I've probably had over 100 interns that have worked at the company for me, and always helping to kind of get different people to different jobs and everything else. So I give kind of career talks all the time and really, help bring in different speakers as well. So I appreciate what the advice people give, and hopefully it's the little things that I can do too that might inspire somebody. But once again, once you know what failure feels like, determination chases success. So I've been there. I've been in situations where you don't get that opportunity or that job or things like that. And to me, it's all about preparation. And that's what I really preach to anybody who's looking to get out into the world. Anyone who's going into the sports world right now, I don't think it's a shocker that it's a very tough time, right? There are not a lot of jobs. But I will say that I think there's also the positivity with it is that, once we get through COVID and everything else, I think there's going to be a big rehiring because I think brands are going to want to get back into it. And I think this is where the opportunity are for students and how they can differentiate each other from themselves. So here are just a couple of quick things that I would kind of put out there. So the number one thing to me is volunteer work, right? I think it's the most underrated part of your resume. And it's something that I preach all the time is work experience is awesome. But I love to see, as I told you right at the get-go, I love to see people who have initiative and are go-getters and get out there and really work hard. I would rather see someone who has 8 items that they've volunteered with and got out there and met people any day than one real good work experience. Because volunteer means that you're probably donating your time, you're taking personal time on the weekends, you're not going to get something back. But I also think that it's a way that people can also self-educate themselves of getting out there and seeing how events are run, getting to meet people. So to me, that's really impactful from someone who really gets out there. You can build a great network, you can gain experience. But like I said, it's about being aggressive in this world. And if you're not being aggressive and you're just waiting for jobs to fall, that's going to be a really tough thing. The second piece to that is informational interviews. So especially now, to me, it's the best strategy for finding jobs. I personally, I Zoom like informational interviews myself with people at least 2 or 3 times a week. And it might be a potential new business opportunity. It might be someone that I came across on LinkedIn. I'm always just trying to push myself a little bit as well. But, I would say it's the best strategy for finding a job because, and Brian, cover your ears because someone who works in academics as well, I always say, no one has ever asked me in my entire life what my GPA was. And no one really even asked me where I went to college. And I know that's good and bad, right? But it's really all about who you know and what you do. And that's what it comes down to. So you guys are in a program that really sets you up for success. So don't get me wrong, classes are important. Being a well-rounded person is important. Being motivated is important. But at the end of the day, it's about the individual things that you do so that you can meet people. And especially from a volunteer standpoint, that you're getting out there and bettering yourself from that standpoint. So informational interview, right? So you get out, you set the Zoom, you get out there and learn from people. Don't go to people and ask them for anything. You don't want a job. You basically want to learn about their career path. And especially if you can target people who have that dream job, or more importantly, target people who have that stepping stone job to your dream job, because you're not going to get that dream job right out of college. You want to find out what those career paths are so that you can go out and you can be that ticket manager. You can be that event. You can find out how they got those jobs and how they turn into those dream jobs eventually in 5 to 10 years. So do your research ahead of time. There's nothing worse than being an informational interview where you don't know anything about that person or you can't engage them. And to me, if you can make that connection with that person, that could be a relationship that can go on for the rest of your life. And there are people I've met 15, 20 years ago that I'm even bringing back to speak at my classes now, that might pop up in another role, that might be a new business opportunity for my company. You never know where things are going to pop up. And that's kind of the fun part about sports is it becomes this group of people who are always connected by something, through the years. So if you can do these informational interviews, that's a great way to meet people. And then the last piece is mentorships, because it's the most critical part of your career path. Everybody should have a mentor in sports. And it might be somebody who has that dream job. It might be someone who just gives you great advice and can help you along, but rely on other people who have been there, right? So you can't just sit back and think that you can be successful. I hear all the time about students who want to start their own company and be an entrepreneur. Well, that's almost impossible. If you can do it, more power to you, but you're probably going to be in quicksand. I went and worked for a company when I ran the McDonald's game. I worked for a gentleman who, think about it, the McDonald's All-American game started in 1978. That was one of the first real title sponsorships in sports. I learned from somebody who connected a brand like McDonald's and Ronald McDonald House, with sports. I absorbed everything I could from him. And he really helped me a lot with my career. And, without that, I wouldn't have those opportunities. So you might not know who that person is, but go out and find them, and that's the most important thing. People are thinking, oh, who do I know? Who could be this mentor? You might not know them, but start interviewing them. Do these informational interviews and get out there. Just an example, my mentor throughout my whole career is a guy by the name of George Raveling. And he's a Nike executive, a former college basketball coach. He actually was inducted in the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2015. It was a pretty amazing moment for me to be a part of his Hall of Fame induction ceremony and help produce it as part of my relationship with the Hall of Fame. Now, the best things about George is he constantly sends me emails or sends me books to read. Actually, he knew my wife separately. My wife used to work at Nike, and he knew my wife. And when we got engaged, he walked into a major event that I was producing. He walked in with 8 books on marriage, and he handed them to me and said, "Don't mess it up." And then he walked away. And that's the kind of leadership I need in my life. So I appreciated that. I had to carry around 8 books on marriage for the rest of the day. So that was a little strange to do, but I appreciated where he was coming from. He's a gentleman who is very thoughtful. And the most amazing thing about George Rattling, if you don't know who he is he actually has the "I have a dream" speech. He actually was working security on that day and turned around to Dr. King and said, "That was the most amazing speech I've ever heard in my life. Can I have the copy of your speech?" And Dr. King handed it to him, right? So, I mean, wow, what an amazing thing. He tells the story a lot better than I just told it, obviously. But, that's the kind of guy you want to find, someone who motivates you and inspires you and quite frankly cares. He's a mentor to me, a mentor to my wife, and a lot of other people. I heard it on a call the other day where someone talked about him as their mentor, and that means a lot to me as well. So I highly recommend that. So, kind of in closing on the career piece, I mean, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I'll be honest, in my world, I have 3 young kids. So 3 of the people I spend the most time with are 8 years old and younger. So I don't know how that much says about me, but for the most part, associate yourself in your career of, who's going to be that person that gets you out of bed on the weekends to go volunteer for an event? Who's going to drive you to kind of work on your resume or connect with people? And at the end of the day, you're your own brand, right? So if you're not the one pushing yourself, I respect all the people through my career and my college roommates and everything else. But at the end of the day, it's me who's, got to wake up and take care of this stuff and, provide for my family and my kids and everything else. And, hopefully you can do it with something that you love and you're passionate about. But it really does start with you, so at the end of the day, be around the right people who lift you up and, and see where you can go from there. And just the last thing I would say, my contact information is here. I'm always on my email, LinkedIn. I'm always available for informational interviews. I've talked to you guys today, but I'm more than happy to ever jump on at any time and talk to anybody and go through your resume and give you honest advice. Tell you where the problems are, introduce you to people, and more than happy to do that at any point. So I guess I'll just open it up kind of for general questions.
Yeah, Kevin, so it doesn't look like right now we have any, but I just want to say thank you so much. That was really informative, and I took down a couple notes in my head about things I need to do better for sure. So I just want to say thanks for that. I actually have a question for you. I see obviously your connections were in basketball, but it seems like at the beginning of your career and your childhood, baseball was kind of your passion. Was it because of the connections you had? That's why so much of your business is in basketball, or?
To be honest, basketball just kind of took off a little bit of the company because we were very fortunate. Obviously, working with Nike opened up a lot of doors for us. So, we started from there and then worked, the Basketball Hall of Fame. The first event I ever did for them was Michael Jordan's induction ceremony. What a great thing to be a part of. And from there, you meet people and it grows to USA Basketball. And I don't think like basketball is our specialty. We've been very fortunate and grown with that. But you're right. I love baseball is a passion of mine, and I'm always, I actually love lacrosse more than anything. Anyone on my staff knows that's like my dream is to get into lacrosse if I can make that go, work a little bit more. But I think you got to be open and always find, the right sports that fit, but also where the opportunities are.
Definitely. Thank you. And then we actually do have a question. Meredith asks, where's your office located? And do you have anyone that works remotely?
Yes. Great question. So we are based here in Phoenix. So our office, we are just opening up actually. So our office opened up at the beginning of October. The good thing about our company is we are used to working remotely a lot because we're always traveling. There's sometimes you're on the road for a couple of weeks at a time. So we do kind of weekly Zoom video chats. I sometimes go 3, 4, 5 weeks without seeing people in my company. We also do have people who work in Chicago, Charlotte, and Philadelphia as well. And we just had a staff member move to LA as part of kind of our Jumpman LA work because it's such full-time work out at the brand space out there. So, we are growing, but yeah, we work remotely. We don't do a whole lot in Phoenix. We try to have more home games when we can, but we're all on the road and we're kind of that's the fun part of event work. You're out there exploring both here and internationally as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And then another question from Jordan asks, when you were growing up or coming out of college, did you ever have any doubts about what you were going to do? And if you did, how did you combat those?
Oh boy, great question. I would say, like, if they have the superlatives in the yearbook. I mean, I was the sports editor, my student newspaper. I mean, no one's shocked that I'm working in sports, but I don't know. I don't think I ever would have. I never would have thought that I would have had my own company. I would have thought that I would have gone to work for somebody else or work for a brand. Um, I still look back now. There's a lot of luck involved, no doubt about it. I don't think I'd have the guts to do it all over again if I had to start on my own and really get out there. And the first year or two is really challenging from that standpoint. So I would just say, if you feel really passionate about stuff and you feel like it's something that is, you can do it, at least keep doing it, right? Like, at least keep doing it on the side. You might have another job, but don't let that go. Because I know a lot of people who've now they've had great careers and then they circle back to kind of what their passion is from that standpoint. So, but it's also survival of the fittest. If you're not really good at what you think you're good at, you'll learn really quickly if you're not getting that work.
Right, for sure. And I think we've seen a lot of that circle back with sports, because eventually you want to come back to what you enjoy. So, and we've got another question actually, and it is, how did you meet your mentor, and just how do you find them, because they're looking for one?
I met George Raveling probably at a Nike event. I don't think if I can either specify the exact one, but I started being in a bunch of different meetings. And one thing about Nike is, and I always say this, like, preparing for a career is one thing, but preparing to be in a boardroom is a whole nother thing, right? So once you get that opportunity and you're in a boardroom with a bunch of people at a place like Nike, and they ask for your ideas or your input, you got to be ready to deliver. So I think being in situations like that and conversations with George and coming up with event ideas and how things work, I think probably got it all kicked off. But I probably also sought him out because, he spoke at a number of different events kind of when I was younger. And the one thing I learned about him is I took, always carry a notebook, right? I took pages and pages of notes, the stuff that he would talk about. It was even a little detail, like how to run a company. He has this concept of the 10% club. You want to always elevate, your company or the people you work with by raising the 10% and then removing the bottom 10%, and to me, it's like, how can you motivate people from that standpoint? How can you surround yourself with successful people? So I think that's probably the way I probably tried to associate myself as much as I could with him, and then really build that relationship. And you can have more than one mentor, but find people who are, someone you can trust from that standpoint.
Right. Perfect. And kind of people who you feel like you have a lot to learn from, obviously. Great.
No
Thank you.
doubt. Like, I think informational interviews, that's the new thing. I never had that. I couldn't Zoom with people, right? I mean, it's hard to go meet with people all the time, that trial and error. Now, I always say people should do interns to rule out things if they find out they don't like it. That's not a bad thing sometimes. It's the same thing with informational interviews. I had a speaker in my class the other day who told me in college he did 500 informational interviews to find out what he wanted to do with his career. And I believe him. He just peppered people with questions. And then at the end of the day, he knew exactly where he wanted to go and how he wanted to kind of steer his career. So, I mean, ultimately, you can find that mentor through informational interviews.
That's awesome. Go him, for sure. And then Jordan actually has a follow-up about, with your doubts and kind of how you work through that, because they have a passion for basketball and they're kind of facing some challenges on where to go with their career and that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, Jordan, reach out to me. I think a lot of it is basketball is such a broad sport. I know people in so many different areas. I have good friends who work in the sports and tourism industry, taking teams overseas. I have people who work in the basketball analytics side. I have people who work in, the broadcast or scouting side. It really, a lot depends on what you're good at and what you want to go into. Because I think too many times people might say, hey, I want to go into marketing, or I want to run basketball events, or, it just really depends on, if you can start honing in on that now and finding those right skills to put you above and beyond. I think that's really where those opportunities are. So you got to differentiate yourself from other candidates, but a lot of it is really finding what you're good at and how that kind of works back with your passion.
Definitely. Well, it looks like those are all our questions. So thank you again, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Kevin, I actually do have one more in regards to the mentor, going back to that. Just curious, I know for the students, it can be a little awkward. How do you ask to be, do you ask someone, will you be my mentor? Is it a organic thing that just kind of happens? Because they might reach out to multiple people in this networking process, especially right now, but how do they kind of help move that to that next step of a mentor role?
Yeah. A lot of it's kind of an interview process that works both ways, right? Because I think mentors also don't want to be in a situation where they can't support somebody. Um, I really just think it comes down to networking. I always encourage sports management programs to create as many networking events. I mean, even on Zoom now, I think there are ways to do that of, can you do more networking event to bring people and get into breakout rooms? And, it's almost like speed dating, right? Of getting out there and trying to meet as many people at one time as you can. And sometimes you connect and sometimes you don't connect. And then it is probably hard to talk to people about it. But I think the one thing that I've found more than anything is that people are willing to help out the next generation, because I love doing this. I love talking. I love helping people. I find it overwhelming. I've never had anyone turn me down to speak anytime, and even connect with a student and talk to them. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just finding someone that you think would be open to doing that, and finding someone who's the right fit. So do more interviewing on your side, but also see if that person's going to be receptive to it. And then I think it just is one of those quick conversations where you say, I have all the respect for, where you've gotten to your career and your career path. And, I wanted to see if you have a role in, in my career that you could help maybe make some introductions or give me, really constructive feedback on my resume or my LinkedIn profile. And if that's a person who can help you out with that stuff, I think it's worth kind of jumping in. And if they say no, they shouldn't have been a mentor for you anyway, right? So what do you have to lose at that point?
That's great. Yeah, super helpful. Because I do think it's just the new age of, and a little awkward to start out with on people. Like, I don't know how to keep that mentor or that even that relationship going. It's like, okay, I've got one email and then I've got two, but then what do I do? And so that's really, really helpful for them. Yeah, and I don't have any more questions. Brian, do you have anything on your end? Thank you so much again, Kevin, for all your time and effort, and even just being willing to give the students your email and information. We greatly appreciate it, especially now in this time and knowing what's coming in the future. You've given great insight. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Gabby. And thank you so much, Kevin. I don't have any additional questions. You have been more than thorough. This has been super insightful, very helpful to students, and I am looking forward to all the feedback that we're going to get. Kevin has been generous enough to provide his email address, plus he provided his LinkedIn contact information. So please feel free to reach out to him as you proceed, throughout your educational experiences and or your careers. I'm sure Kevin will be a great resource for all of you as you proceed. With that said, Kevin, the UF Sports Management Department and Community thanks you so much for your time, for being the second session for the Voices from the Field. This has been really awesome opportunity, and I look forward to communicating and connecting with you as well in the future with respect to additional endeavors inside and outside of the classroom.
Absolutely. I'm always available, so feel free, anybody, reach out anytime, and more than happy to talk more about stuff. And once again, it's the agency life is a lot of fun, and I highly encourage people, especially as that stepping stone job. It's a great place to look at, to get out there and get experience and really find what you love doing, right? I mean, you might not find that going to work for a football team or, a college program, but a lot of times if you put yourself in a diverse environment, you might find that path that you're going through it. So always more than happy to share that with anybody, and always available if anyone wants to reach out to me. So thank you again for the time. It's been an honor to talk to you guys today. So thank you very much.
It's been our privilege. We appreciate that, and go Gators.
Go Gators.
Right? No, absolutely. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, please. And thank you again for being on the call this evening, excuse me, Kevin. This
Absolutely.
afternoon, your time. There we go. Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.